Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's our favorite time of the week. Not only is it Thanksgiving Day here in the US, but it's also when we take a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, so in honor of today's Thanksgiving, obviously we should all be thankful for the simpler things in life, the basic things, the truly important things. However, this is a knife channel, and we do happen to be living in a kind of a golden age of cutlery. That's something to be thankful for, even though it's not nearly the most important thing in life. But it is the most important thing for this channel, so let's take a look at what is new this week, shall we? The first is our next iteration of the ProTech TR3 with KnifeCenter exclusive CruWear blade steel. And this is my favorite one yet. Price is $240, 3 3/8 of an inch drop point blade, as you can see from the shape right there. CruWear blade steel, so you've got good edge retention and a lot of toughness. And it's a good bump up from the base steels that this model typically comes with. Really, really cool stuff. We've been really excited and really happy about having that on this model. Green aluminum for the handles here, and it's not quite like a foliage green or like an army or ranger green. It's got a little bit of color to it while still being subtle. Genuinely, it looks pretty awesome. Operates pretty awesome too, because it's a ProTech, of course, and it has that iconic ProTech sound. You know, if you haven't experienced ProTech's action before, it is kind of, well, it's special, shall we say. Revelatory, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Just good every time, though. Just consistency, solidity, speed, everything you want. And it's a great one of my favorite automatic ProTech models. They do have some manuals now, of course, but they are definitely more famous for their autos. Although, is that true anymore with the success of the Malibu? I'm not sure.
Debatable.
They made their name on their automatics anyway. What I like about the TR3 is it blends the tactical applications of a lot of their professional line stuff, but this is just a great everyday shape. Got enough handle there for a full grip. You can push it to some bigger tasks if you need to, and the toughness of that CruWear is going to be a nice thing to go along with that. And it's got a blade shape that is going to do just about everything. All right, next up we have another US-made knife to start things off. This is the Toor Knives Raven fixed blade, a big 3V harpoon point tactical blade, 5.5 inches long, $350 for this knife. Check out that blade, man. Definitely has a lot of attitude. The 3V is going to be nice and tough, maybe a hair or two tougher than the CruWear we just talked about, in a kind of a close by or similar strata of performance, I would say. Not identical. Don't fight me. Really good stuff. One of my favorite steels for a premium fixed blade, quite honestly. A little bit on the thicker side. We're about 3/16 of an inch thick there. Mid-height flat grind going on, a little higher than the center line. Good toughness, good thickness, decent slicing still to go along with it. And what's nice, especially out here near the kind of harpoon section, you get a little bit of that distal taper. Things get a little thinner out there towards the tip for a little bit more, shall we say, fluidity? We could say fluidity. Why not? Handle material on this one is ebony wood, and you can also get this entire knife in an all blacked out configuration. This one, of course, has a stone-washed finish. You can get it with a black stone-washed finish along with black G10 handles rather than the wood in this case. But check out the fluting on that wood. Looks really cool. Gives you a bit of extra traction as well. Speaking of traction, the grips provided by this knife are pretty nice. Works really well in your standard forward grip, but it's also shaped to be equally as comfortable in a reverse grip. You've got even the quote-unquote index finger guard here back near the pinky position. Works really good. You've got a bit of traction there on the pommel, thanks to that kind of wide, I wouldn't call it jimping, but soft crenellations, shall we say. Very cool.
Jimpalations.
Jimpalations. That's the first new word of today, I think.
I think so.
I think so. Excellent. Jimpalations. Look it up. Nothing. You won't find anything. It's not anywhere yet. The other cool thing you'll see here on the back is a tungsten carbide breaker ball. It's really cool. It's press fit into the tang and then secured from the sides by the scales. But that is a glass breaker there on the end. Pretty cool. I've never seen a tungsten carbide ball bearing quite like that on a fixed blade. Very cool. Very cool. The agility of this knife is something to be appreciated too. I really like the balance point on it right there at the index finger. Just moves really nicely. As for the sheath, here it is. It is Kydex with a faux leather texture on the outside. As far as belt attachment for this sheath goes, you will have to bring your own. Large Tech Lock or CIVIVI T-clip will work perfectly with this whole pattern. Next up, we've got a bunch of, or a handful at least, of new Spartan Harsey 3.25 folders, SHF 3.25. Really cool iterations, $600 for these, premium version, or a premium upcharge on the already premium American-made knife. Couple of upgrades here. First, the Nichols Damascus blade looks great, and the titanium handles have what they're calling a Stormwatch finish to it. It's a little bit subtle, but you get kind of these like electric clouds going on front and back. Really cool looking, and of course each one is going to be a little bit different too. Very nice. As far as the rest of the 3.25 goes, it's a great little shape. Has a bit of that kind of small Sebenza vibe to it. Slightly larger on the blade, 3¼ inches long. But you've got a great drop point with a, almost a high flat grind. I get kind of bound up in these, like how high it is. Do I call it a high flat? It's got a flat grind on it. It's not a full flat grind. You know what that means. It's a great little shape. Lockup is supremely solid with that frame lock there. I really like the pocket clip with the arrow cut out on the inside. It's always been nice. You can flick that blade open, no problem, even though there's no ball bearings in this pivot. You still get good action with it though, and you don't have to worry about the grit as much, and it's a little bit more stable than a lot of ball bearings can be sometimes as well. Very cool, limited quantities on these, of course, so if you're interested, don't wait around too long. Next up, we've got new iterations of the Isonzo from MKM. Really cool looking iterations of the Isonzo, of course. Previously, or originally, these were an injection molded handle scale. I believe it was FRN. Marbled carbon fiber is now an option. And upgraded blade steel over those versions as well. M390 here, so great edge retention for sure. And I love the looks of it. You get all three of the standard blade shapes. Price on them about $185. We've got the hawk bill here, about 2¼ inches long. There's also the cleaver and the drop point, which has kind of a straight clip thing going on. But the regular blade shape also available. But to go with the extra striking handles, I had to go with the most striking blade shape to show you here in the small hawk bill, of course. Wicked, wicked little blade. The carbon fiber looks great. The little blue accents are phenomenal with the pivot collar and the ring or the back spacer that gives you a bail point there at the back. Just super cool. Wire pocket clip, folded over but not quite deep carry. It is reversible, as you can see. Inset liner lock, ball bearings in this pivot. Always have appreciated the closed profile of this knife too. It's just a very nice shape. I believe this is Jesper Vakne's design. Yes, it is, which would explain the excellent aesthetics. The flipper tab, flippers out on the tab quite nicely. And then the thumb hole can also be a reverse flick hole very easily. I've been getting a lot better at that this last year especially.
Well, you have to.
Wouldn't have to, but it'd be kind of sad if I didn't.
Given your job, yeah.
Really cool. Check them out. Just so good looking. So good looking. Anyway, next up we have a new Finch. We're gonna keep the kind of good looking train going. The Reciprocity flipper. couple of different versions, as with any Finch release, different handle inlays are available. This is a tidal resin. So it's a poured acrylic, essentially. Looks great. Some nice blue accents there. $145 for this knife. You've got that 3-inch Wharncliffe blade, 154 cm steel, brushed finish, which matches the integrated or the integral stainless steel bolsters on the handle itself. Interestingly, we've got stonewashed grinds or stonewashed bevels on this knife. I can't remember seeing a Finch that had that combination of textures before, but I may just be not remembering it. In any case, it does have a very good look, but I love also the horizontal sanded finish of the flats, which also go back into that bolster. It just always looks really good. Other thing that looks really good, the Finch crest there in the as the kind of shield inlay, also glow in the dark, I should mention. The lock is a frame lock. You have ball bearings in the pivot. Actually, this is another kind of nice shape in the closed position. One of the cool things going on, it's not quite the same line, but you've got the line from the spine going this way and almost matching the line, diagonal line of the flipper tab there. It's a good look. And it flippers quite nicely. Let me see, you do have a small fuller on each side, which you could think of as like a long pull on a slip joint, which for something like a Finch that draws a lot of inspiration from slip joints, it's a nice thing. Milled pocket clip there on the back for an extra degree of class. And let's see, can I reverse flick this? That'll be the true test. Not the first time, not the second time either. Third time's a charm. I didn't plan that at all. The third time, clearly. It just happened to work. Really cool knife. That Wharncliffe is going to be great for very precise tip work, and you can get some pretty powerful cuts out of this blade as well. All right, next up, how about a couple of more fixed blades, some smaller fixed blades here. We have a new Viper, also a Jesper Vaknes design, Italian made like the MKM, of course. These are fixed blades originally based on a folder from this company. It is the Lille. We have the Lille 1 with its kind of drop point leaf shaped style blade almost. Really cool blade shape, and the kind of modified sheep's foot on the Lille 2. Both really cool knives. Let's talk about the 2 first. Should mention a bunch of different handle options are available for both of these knives. Price for this Arctic Storm Fat Carbon is a bit on the higher end, about $183. The Micarta on this drop point Lille is about $144. So decent chunk of change less for that, for the more kind of rough and ready handle material. But check out how good the blue looks in the carbon fiber here in the Fat Carbon. Really cool. 2.6-inch blade thereabouts, Elmax steel, great performance there. The handle feels great in just my 3 fingers, which would be the kind of standard grip for me. But you've got a bit of choil there, you can choke up. I wouldn't kind of want to gorilla grip in this type of grip too much, because they're, you can kiss the back end of that edge with your finger if you're not careful. But it is a really nice point for fine manipulation, getting your fingertip up in there, and you can really put the tip of that blade to work quite nicely, or even smaller cuts near the heel too. Really nice, but I like the way the back end fills the palm of my hand, even with just 3 fingers going on. Feels great. Sheath is down here somewhere. It is Kydex, and joy of joys, this is a pocket fixed blade, set up to be at least as it comes with the ulti clip right there. Interestingly, this could almost be a left-hand setup straight off the bat. Or of course, you could always use an ulti clip inside the waistband, works really well there, especially carried back here, pull the knife out in a reverse grip, work really well. Retention is solid, build quality is great, it's got everything you need to attach right out of the box. The sheepsfoot, of course, is going to make a great utility style blade. The drop point, I think, would make a really nice hunting shape. It's got a little more belly than I would typically like for just a daily carry, but of course, preferences vary, of course, so I can't speak for everyone there, but it is a really striking looking blade shape still. Stonewashed finish on this one, paired with the green micarta. satin finish when paired with the fat carbon. So make sure to check your finishes when you're checking the knife out online. The other thing I like on this one, a couple of different sections of jimping. So you can grab a little further up or further back. Thumb space up there, thumb space if you're choked up. Very, very cool knives. All right, next up, we've got, well, I'll explain the transition because I may not have quite hit the points when I was talking about the Lille. What I like about the Lille is it's kind of a smaller knife, but has a good chunk to it. What I mean by that is it feels like a bit of a larger knife, or it feels like it could take on some slightly larger tasks. And I feel the same way about the Lil Temperance from Spyderco. This is only a 2.9-inch blade, but it has a full 4-finger grip on the handle, and I do mean full. I have got slightly larger than average hands, and as you can see, I'm filling out that handle quite nicely. Plenty to hold onto right there. This is a Japanese-made Spyderco. It comes with their bi-directional textured FRN, so you've got a ton of positive traction in both directions, and it works great, especially when things are wet or slick. VG10 for the blade steel, full flat grind, broad leaf shape, a little bit thicker. It's kind of similar thickness to something like the Para 3 in their lineup. It's got a knife with a similar vibe, and I would say as well, but rather than having a finger choil to facilitate a full grip, it's all there in the handle, which is pretty cool. The pocket clip is 4 positions, so you can carry it according to any preference. And then you've got the compression lock, which gives you finger safe locking. It is right hand biased, of course, but lefties, if you're familiar enough with it, you can get it to work without too much trouble, I'd say. Might need a little bit of breaking in to get the centrifugal, the flicking action going. Sometimes that is the case, but I do like the strength of the lock. Reverse flick works really well. It just feels super solid. I mean, there is a little bit of girth to these FRN handles in this case. It is a good chunk. Price on this, about $176. All right, let's look at another big, broad blade. We have the Bestech Lockness, and they don't spell it how you think. Come on. I mean, I know I'm a Nessmuck fan, and even though I maybe would not quite call this a Nessmuck blade shape, but maybe like a tactical Nessmuck blade shape. Come on, it's cool. Look at it. Prices on these are about $314. Several different versions of it. Had to pick the orange and black because those are kind of KnifeCenter colors there. On the G10 for this one. M390 blade steel, about 4 inches of it, in fact. It's a lot of premium metal, not only on the length, but the broadness and the slightly thicker stock there. There's a lot in this knife in the blade material in terms of overall cost. But come on, look at it. It's really cool, and that's primarily, I think, what this knife is all about, looking cool. Yes, it is going to work just fine. It's going to be able to work pretty hard. Look at it. It's just really cool.
He likes it.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I do. Milled pocket clip. The lock bar is a part of the full nested liners here underneath those G10 scales. Got the drop shut thing, if that is your thing. Ball bearings in the pivot. You've got thumb studs that work, I promise. There you go. That work just fine. And you've got the milled, we'll go ahead and call them fullers, even though they're kind of 90-degree angles there, that let you do, oh, come on. What was going on? All about how I was doing better at the reverse flick, and then all of a sudden...
You shouldn't have said nothing.
Shouldn't have said nothing. Should have let you just cut around the mistake there, but...
It's definitely going in.
It reverse flicks just fine, people. Black finish on this blade. There are black finishes and satin finishes to choose from throughout the rest of the series. It's just awesome. And do we really need any reason other than that? No, I don't think we do. Micarta is also a handle option available. Next up from Bestech, we have the Skirmish flipper. This is about $119. The thing I'm really excited about on this particular knife, though, is the handle. desert ironwood, front and back over the liner lock. Really cool stuff. I dig it, and you don't often see it as much on folders. And the backspacer, while made of black G10, almost carries the vibe of the ironwood into that backspacer. It's semi-floating, and you see it from the end grain, so it has a little bit of quote-unquote grain to it. Kind of nice. Folded over, deep carry pocket clip for right side tip up carry. We've got ball bearings in the pivot. We've got a 154 cm blade, 3¼ inches long. It does flipper quite nicely, and I bet you it reverse flicks nicely too. And check out that blade. Another blade that just looks really cool. This is kind of a blend, I would say, between a cleaver and a Wharncliffe, because you get kind of that big clipped off cleaver look, but check out that tip with the completely straight edge behind it and that very acute point. It's going to behave a lot like a Wharncliffe as you're using it. Very, very cool. Like I said, about 119 bucks for this knife. Next up, we have the Bestech Nyxie. This is the latest collaboration with them and Todd Knife and Tool. And this version with the gray titanium comes in about $248. There are some other handle and blade finish options that you can choose from. Blade, 3.43 inches, S35 VN steel. What do we call this, Thomas?
Gosh, I just don't know. Never seen it before.
It is, for lack of a better term on this one, we're going to go ahead and call it a reverse Tonto.
That's it.
I'll even let you have this one, because this one's kind of hard to qualify. It's a bit sheep's footy, a bit modded sheep's foot perhaps, but you got the straight clip there at the front. Utilitarian, certainly. I think it would be a very useful shape. Great steel for everyday use. You've got a high flat grind for good stability and slicing. Crowned spine on the top. I didn't even mention that about our Italian knives earlier. They do have the crowned spine they're often known for. But back to this knife for a second. I'm digging this one. This is probably my favorite one of the Todd Knife and Tool collabs they've done yet. I like the blade. The handle works well. It's kind of a 3.5 finger grip behind the index finger point, but you've got that choil there at the front, the finger-sized choil, and it's a little bit safer than some of those where the edge goes all the way through into the finger space. As you can see, it stops just before that finger choil terminates. So if you creep forward a little bit, you're not quite on the sharp edge. So I appreciate that for sure. Nice, stylish milled clip. The frame lock holds it in place quite nicely. The ball bearings allow you to flick it, reverse flicking just fine. Front flicking, also just fine. But as of course you can also see, this is a front flipper, which I'm never great at except for that one time right now.
This time.
There's another front flipper coming up. We'll see how well I do there. Really cool knife. Check it out. All right, next up we've got a couple more. I've got a WE and a CIVIVI to show from the WE and CIVIVI drops last week. This is the newest Ray Laconico. Sorry, Ray. The latest Ray Laconico collaboration with WE knife. This is the Evoke. This is the most expensive version of the Evoke series, coming in with at $578 with its Damasteel blade. Standard versions hover a little closer to that $220 mark for, I think it's, what is it, S35 on those knives? Thomas, you remember, right?
Nope.
Why would you? 20 CV on those knives for about $220 with a titanium frame lock. But check out how cool that Damasteel looks there. Really, really sweet. And a great blade shape. It's got a bit of that kind of fully swedged fighter profile going on, straight clip point going on as well. And I believe, no, that's a flat grind. I thought for a second it looked like a hollow grind, but that's flat. Great everyday shape and not too thick. It's gonna be pretty slicey, even though it's not a full flat grind, it's gonna work well. Love the slim titanium handles. They're gonna carry very easily. Milled pocket clip, ball bearings, thumb studs for thumb studding action, and a front flipper for front flipping action. Here we go. felt a little awkward to me, but again, I've never been the best at front flippers. This is a very useful shape, and one of my more favorite Wiis they've come out with lately. Very, very much dig that. Great hard use gentleman's knife, perhaps, especially in this guise, but just a good premium everyday folder, regardless of which one you choose. And last, but certainly not least, we have this CIVIVI. This is called the Clavi, and it is a collab with Ostap Hell. Prices on these, about 61 for this one right here. As you can see, it's kind of an executive Wharncliffe, I'm gonna call it. Why not? Let's do that. Blade length just over 3 inches, Nitro V blade steel, straight up Wharncliffe blade shape. We're not gonna throw any kind of modifier on this terminology here. Full flat grind, almost a full length swedge, Nitro V steel, really good stainless stuff right there. And a cool kind of burlap textured micarta handle. They're calling it green. And I suppose there is kind of some hint of green in there, almost like an olive green mixed in with the more brown threadiness going on. Threadiness, second new word of today. I don't think that's not an actual word.
Probably not. 2
new words invented today. Can you top that comment section? I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
What is it? Liner lock with inset liners on this knife. It's not a deep carry clip in this case, but it is reversible, and it is another front flipper. I'm having no problem with this particular front flipper, which is hard to do because I almost always have problems with front flippers. And what I mean by executive styled Wharncliffe, it's got that long, narrow blade that almost completely disappears into the handle, which is not, that right there is not the primary consideration of the executive style, but we call him that because, of course, the CEO from CRKT, which this is the CEO compact. It just happened to be over here. So I figured, since I'm calling this the executive styled Wharncliffe, if you didn't know why, there you go, that's why. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Can we say this has a reverse Wharncliffe blade?
Yes.
We're gonna. Someone in the comments section made that joke, and I just love it. So that's why I keep using it. But enough about the old knife. Let's talk about the new knife, and we're done. It's great. Check it out. 61 bucks. That's it for today. Thank you everyone for your support this past year and the years before, of course. I am real thankful for you all, especially. Thomas is too, even if he doesn't actually ever say it.
I'm busy.
He's not that busy, it's fine. Let me know what you thought of these knives down in the comments, and if you want to get your hands on any of them, links in the description will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And whether you're buying it for you or for someone else, don't forget our Knife Rewards program, because with each purchase here, you're going to be earning some free money to spend on your next knives. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. Happy Thanksgiving.